it's Amanda and this is my Texas Zone 8 garden, and it is a beautiful spring morning with lots and lots of wind, which is very typical in my area. And we're going to be out on the last portion of the side garden, and I'm going to talk about how I garden when I don't have a plan and don't know what to do. So quite frequently I talk to you guys, I wing it a lot on gardening, but I also make plans for gardening. This particular area behind me has been an area that I've really struggled with for about 4 years now. I've added a little bit at a time, and then I've removed things, and I've gone back and forth, and I've really just struggled with it. And I still don't have much of a plan, but I still need to deal with this portion of the garden, even though I don't know what to do. So I'm going to go through the process, show you what all I'm going to do, and what I'm going to be doing as a temporary fix for this area until I can make some better decisions. Okay, so it is also super windy today, and that is very typical in my area. In the spring, we have lots of gusty winds, which I actually love. I feel like it's blowing out the old and bringing in the new. I did want to address, I got a comment the other day asking me to get a new microphone or to move my microphone so that the person watching could not hear my breathing. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be straight up with y'all. I breathe heavy, I work hard, and that's just part of my gardening experience. I don't hide or mute out my heavy breathing. This is hard work, and I'm working hard, and I breathe hard. Breathing's part of being a human. So I'm not going to mute out my breathing. I'm not going to be getting a new microphone, and I'm not going to be moving my microphone because this is what works best for me. I like it right in the center so that if I turn my head, you can hear me from either direction. Okay, so we have been working on the side garden, and it is gorgeous. And we stopped right about here, right about where this red barberry is right here. And then all the way over is an area I haven't worked on. And I will say I haven't worked on it this year. I have built up some perennials in this area. I've got a few different things. I've got a beautiful smoke bush. And then I've got an area to the back of the smoke bush that I have no idea what to do with. So a few things. I do want things to eventually be mostly perennials in this section of the garden because I find that it's one of the last areas I deal with. I don't really walk by it or pay much attention to it, so I think perennials is what's going to work best for me in the future. I also have an area right here that is access to my water heater, and so I need to keep it so it's easier to get into that area. Now, the smoke bush back here, I planted maybe 3 years ago, and it is the main focal point of this area. I want it to be extremely sculptural and a beautiful focal point. However, I want most of the foliage to be up. I want down low to be mostly branches where I just see the cool sculptural structure of the branches with little to no foliage. So we're going to go ahead and start by sculpting up this smoke bush, and I'm going to have to train it for multiple years. And when I started, this guy was only 2 feet tall, so it has grown a bunch. But the goal is for it to go up, foliage up, shade this area a little bit, since this does face west. So this area gets extreme sun, especially during the winter. So let's go ahead and start some pruning with this smoke bush. So I'm going to be pretty selective. I am coming in here and I'm cutting all the way to the base of this main limb. And this main limb is an area that I have been working on for a while. Every season, most likely, I will need to clean off a lot of these branches. But you can see as I'm working down how this limb starts to show up, and you can really see what's going on with it a lot better. And all I'm doing is just cleaning up this foliage around here so that we can see what's going on better with this particular area. Now, I do have this one really big strong limb right here coming off. Actually, I've got two, so let's remove this one. I got one going straight up. I think I'm going to take that one too and keep this open in the center. And then this big guy right here, we're going to go ahead and take that off because he's coming too far forward for my taste, and it'll impede the small walkway that is here. So we really want to open that up a little bit. Okay, so coming in here, and I'm going to do a little bit more, just kind of pulling down on stuff, removing so that I can identify the larger branches here. And I'm going to be trimming some that come forward. And look how beautiful this is back here. It's absolutely gorgeous. Let me cut a few more. I think I'm going to take off this whole limb right here. Actually, let me go get a bigger set of pruners. Okay, I've got some bigger loppers. I'm going to come in here. Actually, let me come from the side. This area is coming too far forward, so I'm going to take this whole one off. I think I need to sharpen my loppers. Okay, now I've got a lot of little stuff in here that will get cleaned up. Another bigger limb in here. Okay, looks great. Open it all up underneath. You can see the beautiful structure of the limbs underneath. There's three main ones, or actually there's two main ones and then they split off. Super pretty, and this will get fuller and fuller. This will grow definitely above the house this year. Looks really good. Okay, on to the next thing. Okay, next we're going to start in this area. This is a nepeta, cat's pajamas nepeta, and I messed up on this guy. It should have been trimmed back 6 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago, before its first flush, and I did not do that. So now the first flush has come through with all this raggedness underneath, and the whole thing has kind of fallen over. So as dramatic as it looks, I'm actually going to be cutting this back all the way. I am sacrificing tons of blooms right now, but nepeta is strong and it will come back. So I'm just going to come in here, and I know a lot of y'all are like, oh my gosh. It's necessary, y'all, because I messed up. I should have done this a lot earlier. It should have been trimmed a while ago. So I'm trimming this down to about 6 to 8 inches above the ground, and it will give me a whole new flush. We're going to fertilize it. Nepeta gives me multiple flushes throughout the year. I just cut it back every time it's finished blooming, and it works out great. And I ended up loving this so much. Like, I've tried it before and it's failed. I've killed it multiple times, but I put it in this area right here where it gets a little bit of moisture, but nothing too crazy. And it's an area I don't really mess with it. And it gets a ton of sun, and it's been so happy here that I planted another one up front by the walkway to my house, because I love how this just spills over into the lawn in front of me. So we're going to go ahead and cut this all back. Very dramatic, I know. And very sad because I didn't get to it earlier. But beneficial to the plant. It's going to be tidier and prettier along the way by doing this. And then continuing on with this one, I potentially should have planted these farther apart. I didn't think that the nepeta would be so happy because it hasn't been happy in different places in my garden in the past. So I didn't realize it would get so big. But maybe in the fall we'll come back and divide these out and get 2 new plants and put them in some different areas. I'd love to transplant some of these to the back of the retaining wall in the backyard, back by all the trough gardens. I think would be really cool. Just to fill in some of that space and cut down on weeds, create some weed suppression with some living mulch. All right, let's talk about this area. this plant right here is a Russian sage. Once again, this area I got to so late, so there's a lot of old dead stuff in the back here. So I'm going to be doing some trimming on this just to clean it up. I do find that this flops very quickly, unfortunately. I really do need to figure out some kind of trellis situation for it. Got lots of grass, weeds over here. Look at this big mama. Weeds are easier to pull when they're bigger, in my opinion. Now, the Russian sage does spread itself around, which I don't mind. It's a great cut flower. It smells amazing. And just like the nepeta, it can be cut back, and then it will flush back over and over again. I've cut it back as many as 3 times in a season. Look at this guy. Whoa, that's a big guy. Okay, so for the Russian sage, I'm going to try something. First, I'm going to pull out this massive weed right here, y'all. Oh, that's prickly. Oh. Look at that. Oops, let that grow too long. Okay, so with this Russian sage, I want to anchor it backwards. And in the past, I've always anchored it from one particular stake, this one right here. I think I'm going to do it from 2. So these are like vintage candle holders for like weddings, like their wedding decor. And I got them a while ago and I used them as stakes in the garden all the time. All right, get that in. So I'm going to put these 2 in, and then I'm going to run twine, probably in at least 3 locations. I'm going to come in with the twine. I'm going to tie it down low first. Just a simple garden twine. Let me go ahead and cut some of it off. And then I'm going to come up under the plant like this. I'm going to tie it to this other stake and pull it pretty tight. All right, and then I'm going to do it again. A little bit higher. All right, and I'm hoping, well, it doesn't look great right this moment. I'm hoping that this might bring one piece forward, just so it's not so it's softer in the front a little bit like that. I'm hoping that that'll hold it back a little bit and help with it coming forward. Come down to about 6 inches there. Like that. Sweet. Okay, so got weeds here. I'm going to try to clean up out the front of here. And then I'm actually going to be planting some homestead verbena along this little portion in the front with the idea that it will spill over and kind of soften this area, add some brightness and color, because this area does tend to be a little bit deeper. This grass is called Soft Rush Grass Blue Mohawk. Okay, over here I have a whole bunch of yarrow. Yarrow that doesn't typically do very well here. I don't get a lot of blooms. It's constantly flopping. I think that the soil is potentially too rich for it right here, because yarrow doesn't actually like a lot of fertilizer. Now, I will say it has spread quite a bit in this space. We've got some Virginia creeper right there. So I'm just going to come in and first start by spending a little time weeding in here. definitely have a lot of grass in here, which is not great. But if you are someone who has Bermuda grass, you understand. It's just part of having Bermuda grass. I envy the northern gardeners where they just like edge their garden with like a sharp blade, and they can keep their garden edges like that. I'm like, oh, it's so glorious. Can't do that here if you have Bermuda grass, because it grows like a foot down into the ground, and it is very hard to get rid of. Okay, looks like a lot of the yarrow is getting ready to bloom. Okay, so before I go any further, I'm going to use plant tone, and I'm going to be fertilizing the perennials and shrubs, and I just kind of pour some at the base, and then I come in with my hand and just work it around like that. I am not going to be fertilizing the yarrow. It doesn't like fertilizer. I'm going to stay away from that. Also not going to mess with the grasses either, but I am going to put some at the base of the smoke bush. Okay, I forgot to trim this guy. This is a sweet almond verbena. This is its third season. Typically dies back all the way to the ground. Have not seen it coming back up this year. So, oh, sorry. It might not make it. I'm not going to replace it right away if that's the case. Give it a little time, see if anything pops up. I can't remember if it took a while last season. And I don't know. We'll see. But it smells amazing. I would love for it to come back. So we'll give it some time in hopes that it will. And I didn't really talk about the orange rocket barberry because it doesn't really need any trimming right now. I like its unusual shape. It's a beautiful new growth. It's all this beautiful red color. So we'll just leave it as is. I love this additional pop color in this portion of the garden. Okay, just a little reminder about my gardening philosophy. I prefer to pack in the plants. I don't want to see the soil. Couple of reasons. I just like that look. It's very cottage garden, just flowers overflowing, lots and lots of texture. I like the kind of wild look. Secondly, I utilize that by creating a living mulch, shading out most of the soil so that weeds can't grow as much. It's great for weed suppression. So, a couple of things we're going to do. First of all, let me get over here. I want to tuck in a few things over here. I want to tuck in something that can compete and is going to be a little bit taller right here. So I'm going to put in a guara, a dark pink guara right here. I got a bunch of plants from the high school, our local high school. Their FFA was having a plant sale, and one of my favorite little girls, and well, she's not a little girl anymore, she's much older now. One of my favorite kids in the whole world, Jordan, was selling them. So I bought several from her, including some perennials and some homestead verbena. So I'm going to start, I think, with the guara here, or do I want to do the guara here? I'm going to do the guara up front here, and then I'm also going to tuck in a iris that I just noticed no longer the labels are all sun damaged. I bought a couple of iris. Let's see if I can look up what the variety was. I bought a couple of iris from like Lowe's, and so I want to put an iris right here because it will grow really strong. These really bold sword-like leaves will fill in the space, and it's nice and strong. And even with the Russian sage coming over, it will come through the foliage of the Russian sage, which would be really great. And in a couple of years, this should be absolutely wonderful and beautiful. I really loved all the bearded iris that I've tucked into different portions of my garden. It's growing beautifully right now, and so I really want to add some more. So I'm going to start with the bearded iris rhizome, get that tucked in, and it can definitely take full sun. And it even does great in my, clay soils, which I think is really fun. So I actually got this a while ago. I got just the rhizome, and then I just kind of potted it up. Now, when you are putting in these rhizomes, you want them to really sit at the surface of the soil. You don't want them to go down really far. So I've got mine just right here at the surface of the soil. That's as far as we want to go with that. So we've got that tucked in. And then let me go ahead and do the guara right here. And this is where we had that sedum. But the sedum was too low growing, so it couldn't really get enough sun. The guara is much taller, so I think that'll work a lot better. I'm just really pleased with my soil right now. This area was clay, and I add fertilizer and mulch all the time to it, which just helped it so much. It keeps growing beautifully. Ooh, this is dry. It wants to get in the ground. And I think the guara will go really well with kind of the windswept look of the Russian sage and the grasses over here, and then eventually the nepeta. I think will be really nice. Next thing I'm going to do is right along the edge, I'm going to be tucking quite a bit of verbena, and I'm going to be alternating it pinks and purples throughout the space. Sorry, I'm dripping so much sweat, so humid. So the idea being that basically I'm going to take these little plants. So this is a homestead verbena hot pink. Blooms fall through summer, plant in full sun, prefers well-draining soil, grows 4 to 6 inches tall by 28 to 32 inches wide. Hardiness in zones 6 through 9. So it is considered a perennial, but I will say sometimes mine doesn't come back. So what I want to do is right along this edge, I want to alternate it. And I want a lot, like I don't want a little. I want a lot all the way across this front edge to spill over. And I think I'm going to continue some backwards a little bit into another portion of the garden that we worked on. So I'll show you all that process. With each of them I'm planting, I'm going to be adding plant tone fertilizer to each one. Okay, so this space is an area I've tried multiple things in. Hasn't done well. I've struggled. I don't really know. So I'm not really sure what I want to put here. I don't want to put anything here super permanent because I'm just not sure what I want. But a couple of things I do know I want to camouflage this corner. So I grabbed this trellis that I'm not using from the backyard, and I'm going to come over here. I'm going to add this into the space. This is just one of those plastic trellis that you can get on Amazon. It's nothing special, but it should do the job over here in the corner to give me a little bit of height and interest right there. Now I'm not growing anything really tall right here. That's why I'm putting this here. I think eventually it'd be nice to have a clematis tucked back here to grow up over the top. I don't know, maybe some star jasmine. I don't know, a couple of different ideas to toss out there. Let me know what y'all think. All right, next, right back here in the corner right here, I'm gonna actually tuck in additional rhizome, iris rhizome. This is one of the ones that I actually bought these like in the fall from Lowe's. And then I overwintered them, planted them up and overwintered them. Remember, I'm planting the rhizome right at the surface. And these iris hold up well to heat and sun. And since this faces the west, I think that'll work really good. Now that will be a permanent one. Okay, next, I am gonna tuck in some cleome that I grew from seed. It's called Sparkler 2.0 Blush Cleome. And just so you know, I needed to point out all these beds have drip lines in them. So they do get water straight to the base of their plants. So the cleome are annuals in my area. If we have a mild winter, they should overwinter, but I don't know. This is my first time to grow them from seed. I think that I should have pinched them back. So like these are kind of spent already, but I'm gonna let them keep going for the time being. And we're just gonna go ahead and tuck in 3 of them right here. There's a lot of mulch in this area because I've had some issues with the weeds. So I put down some heavy layers of mulch to suppress the weeds. But I hate to cut back the cleome because I do have so many smaller leaves growing off some of the areas. So I'm just going to leave it for the time being. All right, so next I have Iberis, which is a semi-perennial in my area that I grew from seed. And it's done for the season actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to be coming in here with these and I'm going to spread them out all under here. It can handle a little bit of shade. It is a semi-perennial in that if we have a really harsh winter, sometimes it doesn't come back or it only lasts a couple of years. So this is one of the ways I can add a little something here, help with some weed suppression, let these kind of semi-perennials grow on, but then there's a potential that they won't make it. So if I change my mind in the future, I'm not super stressed about it. I just destroyed that one. Okay. And I've allowed these to get super leggy. They're a hot mess. They're not pretty, but let's go ahead and get them in. And perhaps next spring, these will carpet this whole area with beautiful white blooms. Now, these die back during the summertime, so I will need to come back in here with some type of summer annual. Maybe I'll just plant a ton of zinnias over here, which would be really nice. So we took the Homestead Verbena in pink and purple and we went all along the front of this. This should be fill in with a beautiful solid border. It might take a couple of years, but should be really pretty. I put it in pretty solid and pretty thick so that if some plants don't make it, I don't have to rush around to find new ones. I think that'll work out really good. And we cut back the nepeta pretty harshly, but we will have 2 beautiful mounds of kind of silvery blue leaves with purple flowers at a later point in time. We also tucked in a mystery bearded iris right there, which its really strong sword leaves should combat the Russian sage really well. The pink guara right there just cleaned up a lot of this area. We did cut back the sweet almond verbena. Here's some bearded iris getting ready to bloom. This variety is, let me see down here, Discovered Treasure. Super pretty. Coming back this way, this is a portion of the garden that I don't really know what to do. So this is like gardening without a plan. Gardening when you don't really know what to do and when you don't really want to do anything super permanent. So we cleaned up underneath the smoke bush, which is looking really pretty. It's actually getting ready to bloom. These are all its blooms right there. We left all the yarrow underneath for now. It should get a lot more sun now. We filled in a lot of this space with seedlings. Seedling was an inexpensive way to garden when you don't have a plan. Fill it all in. These are all known as candy tuft or Iberis. They are considered a perennial. However, I consider them a pseudo perennial because they only last a couple of years. So while these have already bloomed out for spring, these usually bloom late winter, early spring. They will carpet this area and really help with shade, weed suppression. We also tucked in 3 of the Sparkler 2.0 Blush Cleome, which I also grew from seed. which is a really cost-effective way to deal with an area that I'm not really sure about. It is an annual, so it's not permanent, which is also great. I wanted a little bit of height, so I tucked in a trellis that I already have. It's just a plastic trellis, but it looks really nice back there. Just add a little bit of height. And then I did add an additional bearded iris, a mystery variety right back there that I got from Lowe's in the fall. I think it works good. I am going to have to backfill with some additional fall annuals, but I think this is a really great way to kind of just temporarily deal with an area when I don't have an actual plan for the garden. Okay, I saved some of these branches here to use for trellis. They're really nice and long, and they'll make some really good trellis in the future. I'm happy with what I accomplished. I'm a person who obviously gardens quite a bit, and you would think that I would just have like a plan for everything. I don't. I look at space, I study the space, and then I come up with a plan. And I've been studying that space back there for 4 years now, and I just still cannot come up with a plan for it. So there are times when you're going to garden without a plan, when you're going to garden and you're really not sure what you're doing or if this is going to be forever or anything like that. So a couple of things. Give yourself some grace. It's okay to garden without a plan. It's not a problem. Add elements that you already have, such as the trellis. I already own that, so I just kind of moved it around to help freshen that space up, and work with inexpensive elements, such as starting some things from seed, which is really great. I could come back in there, and I might come back in there and backfill with a bunch of those zinnia seedlings that I started, and just have a plethora of tall, beautiful zinnias back there, which would be lovely. It would work really good. So if you're unsure, just toss some seeds, annual seeds, hopefully. Toss some seeds into an area, put in some seedlings, grab some inexpensive annuals, or just do something simple and lay down, a couple of inches of fresh mulch in that area just to clean it up while you continue to figure out what you want to do with the space. As I said, eventually I would like to have all perennials back in that corner. I've done a really good job bringing perennials up to this smoke tree or smoke bush, but after that I'm just not really sure which ones I want to put in there and how I want to deal with it and what I want it to look like. I kind of, maybe I want a rose. I don't know. I don't have a lot of roses on this side of the house or in the side garden because it is west facing, so I haven't done a lot of roses here, but maybe I should. Maybe I should just do some trellis with some climbing roses, which would be stunning. And then I could also plant clematis at the base of the roses and allow the clematis and the roses to intertwine, which would be super cool. I don't know. What do you guys think? Tell me some of your thoughts on what you think that I could do in that particular back area. I think a statue would be cool too. I don't know. But we are officially done with the side garden. So now we have completed the front garden and the side garden, cleaning it up from winter, prepping it for spring, and now going into summer. It is going to be 85 degrees today, and it is hot, hot, hot. I need a shower big time. It's humid, and I am positively dripping. But I hope you guys really enjoyed today's video, seeing what my thoughts were when I am gardening without a plan, and seeing kind of where I went with it. Keeping to a budget, not going too crazy. Don't want to put anything expensive in an area that I'm unsure about. All right, as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. As always, every time you like and comment, it helps grow my channel so much. And check me out on my social media outlets, including Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. As always, she's a mad gardener or a decorator or anything else that she wants to be. Thanks, y'all.